Guess who gets to own everything about your life? You. You get to own it. I don't mean not looking for blame in this. You don't get to blame even yourself, but you get to own it. If you find yourself being in place, right, especially right now in our world today, right? Oh, it's the government's fault. Oh, it's that person's fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's a shut up.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
What's up, you crazy fighting entrepreneurs? I got extra energy today. This is Anik Singal, your host for the Fighting Entrepreneur podcast, and today we're going to talk about 10 things to avoid if you want to be rich, all right? Why? Because, man, we don't learn these things. It really makes me mad. Why do we go to school? What is the point when we're not taught like the most simple things that we need to learn? So I'm actually going to teach you the things you should not do, the things you should avoid. Sometimes I think that's more valuable than learning what you should do. I feel like in this podcast, we always talk about what you should do. So here we go. What you shouldn't do. Now, actually, can I say one thing you should do first? Go to onikpodcast.com, show notes for our podcast, hit subscribe, leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube right now, leave a comment, click like, send this podcast episode to everybody that you know. All right, now the things you shouldn't do. 10 things to avoid. Listen, if you want to be rich, there are habits, there are patterns, there are things you need to adopt. There are things you need to adapt to. There's things you should do, and there are things you should never do. And I'm going to tell you, these next 10 things I'm about to share with you, there is no exception. You can argue with me until you're blue in the face. There's no exception, because if you look at any successful person, they will tell you that they avoid these things. So let's start right at number one. This is one of my favorite ones. The number one thing that you've got to avoid doing if you want to be rich is asking Uncle Joe for advice. Now, what am I talking about there? All right, if you ask anybody for advice, just random people, this is one of the first things entrepreneurs do. Hey, I have an idea. Hey, Marcy, what do you think about my idea? Now, what's Marcy? Has nothing to do. She's never been an entrepreneur. She's not even a target demographic for your business. She's, I don't know, just a friend, someone you like, someone you have to hang out with, someone you have drinks with. What gives her the credibility to give you advice? What gives your Uncle Joe credibility to give you advice? Unless they've been there, done that. Would you? Okay, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. You get to answer this. Would you ask, all right, would you ask an engineer how to do brain surgery? Imagine right now, all right, your best friend's on the table. You got to save his life. You need to do brain surgery. You're going to ask an engineer, an architect? You're going to ask someone who's a driving school instructor? No. God, no. That sounds ridiculous, but this is what we do in our lives. Entrepreneurs, you do this all the time. I challenge you to look around right now. When's the last time you asked someone you shouldn't have been asking advice for? I'm not saying anything bad about that person. They could be the best person in the world. I'm just saying, do they really need to be the ones asking you or answering your advice? I do this right now. When I first started, I did make this mistake because what do? You don't know a lot of the right people. Thanks to the internet now, you can know the right people. You can join Facebook groups. You can join LinkedIn groups. You can connect with people on Skype. You can connect with people in so many different ways. Get your questions in front of the right people. I'm telling you this right now. So avoid asking people who are not qualified to answer your question. All right? Number 2, moving right along, saying yes. You got to avoid saying yes. I'm dealing with this right now. As of today, actually, I'm filming this. I'm very passionate about this one because today was the day I decided I'm going to start saying no like crazy. I'm going to say no to so many things that it's going to be awesome. Why? Because saying yes is a distraction. Saying yes gets you off focus. Saying yes stretches you too thin. Saying yes puts you in a perpetual state of making plans and excelling things and not doing crap. So start saying no. You can't do things, all right? The more no's you say to opportunities, the more opportunity you will have in the one thing that matters the most. I want you to do something right now. I want you to look at the top billionaires and millionaires in the world. Guess what? They got rich by being in one industry. This whole notion of diversify yourself, it actually doesn't work, all right? Tell me one billionaire that got there by diversifying. No, they're damn good at one thing that they do. They're really good at it. So I want you to learn to say no, and I want you to say yes only to those things that are directly focused and related to what you are doing, your mission, your passion. Learn to say no to everything else. Number 3, you got to avoid your impulses. See, here's the thing. I love my gut. So I don't ever avoid my gut, but I do avoid my impulses. Impulses come and go. Gut stays. Gut is a feeling, right? A gut is a feeling that you have that it gets confirmation again and again and again. It's a state of being. You end up really feeling it. That's different. Impulses, boom, right now. Impulses when someone is talking to you and you want to punch them in the face, right? We should avoid that impulse. That I use an example that's very obvious. But we don't avoid impulses, especially entrepreneurs. This ties back to learning to say no. Because we have an impulse. Oh, that's a great idea. Boom, I'm going to refocus everything on that. No, learn to question your impulses. Now, impulses can lead to genius, but only when they're done through analysis. So I ask you, when you get an impulse, if you really love it, put it through some calculated risk analysis. Put it through some questions. And if at some point it turns into a gut, you're on to something. But avoid making decisions on pure impulses. All right, number 4, you got to avoid a wide social circle. Oh boy, this is one that, okay, go ahead. You want to fight with me about it? Leave a comment in below. If you're listening to this on podcast, go to YouTube. We can fight about it. You're not going to win. Listen, got to keep that circle small, because the more people you let into that circle, the more noise you have, the more unwanted advice you have, the more negativity you possibly allow in, the more influence that comes into your daily life. So I don't have a wide social circle, and I love it. Because you know what? I work so hard on my dream and my passion. First of all, I want to share it with those who I love, who mean the world to me. I don't want just a happy hour relationship with them. I want them to be a part of my life. But the second piece is, when I'm done working that hard, I don't got the energy to deal with random talk. So keep your social circle tight. Keep it focused. Be around those who you are willing to become like, because you will be the average of the 5 closest people in your life. Keep your social circle small and challenge you, all right? So avoid large social circles. Number 5, this is a big one. Pride. You know what? I'm very successful. I'll say it right now. I've sold I think at this point it's close to $250 million worth of products online. I've built schools for children. I have traveled the world. I've lived the life. And I'm very successful. So I could walk around with a lot of ego, a lot of arrogance, and a lot of pride. Yet I got 0. You know, I'm the first person to say I don't know something. I'm the first person to ask for help. I'm the first person to ask questions. I'm the first person to accept when I've made a mistake. And I'm the first person to own it. I got no pride. Pride's not going to get in the way. I got pride in the fact that I got no pride. I got pride in the fact that I'm willing to adapt, that I'm willing to change, that I'm willing to do what is necessary to get the job done. Now, you might be saying, I don't got pride. Yeah, you do. Many, many, many people do. You know, I actually find that, this is kind of funny. I actually find that entrepreneurs in the beginning, when ideally they don't know much and don't have that much success, I find they are the most proud. They have the biggest egos. It's so weird. And yet, when you talk to the very, very successful entrepreneurs, you know how many billionaires I've met that are the most humblest of them all? Life humbles us. That's what it is. Life humbles us. So, got to get rid of the pride. All right, number 6, blame. Blame. Got to get rid of it. You got to avoid blaming. Guess who gets to own everything about your life? You. You get to own it. I'm not looking for blame in this. You don't get to blame even yourself, but you get to own it. If you find yourself being in place, right, especially right now in our world today, right? Oh, it's the government's fault. Oh, it's that person's fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's shut up. Seriously. Like you can see a little bit of passion coming out right there. Like, I get really worked up about it. You want to see change? Be the change. Come on. Who knows that quote from Gandhi? You want change? Be the change. Stop blaming. God, you know why? What happens? Because it leads to victim mentality. And oh my God, it hurts my face to think. Victim mentality. Like, you are not. Okay, you are not the poor damsel in distress. You want to be a badass entrepreneur. You're not the damsel in distress. Stop blaming other people and start owning everything about your life. When you own something, you can control it. When you own something, you can fix it. When you blame external things, you have no control. You have no fix. You have nothing you can do. Although it might feel good at the moment, you're really screwing yourself up for the future. You got to stop it. All right, number 7, I think we're up to. Oh, this is my favorite. The tomorrow. You got to stop going to bed telling yourself, you know what? I didn't finish my list today. I didn't finish what I was going to do. I'll just do it tomorrow. So I always give this one example, and this is going to really drive home the point. You ready for this? This is the example. If you're driving right now, don't close your eyes, but I was going to say close your eyes and really think this through. So like if you're driving or jogging, that would be not cool. But let's say your best friend, you got a best friend, his name is Pete. All right, Pete calls you up Monday morning, says, oh, come on, man, I really need to talk to you. Can you please have lunch with me today? Something big's going on in my life. I need your counsel. I need your help. And you're like, oh, man, listen, I got to take time off of work, but you know what? I love you, man. All right, Pete, I'll be there. Lunch, 12 o'clock, sharp. 12, 12:05, 12:10, 12:15, 12:30, 12:40. No one shows up, no Pete. 12:50, Pete messages, he says, I'm so sorry. My boss called me into a meeting. We're not allowed to have phones. I couldn't text you. Man, I'm so sorry. I promise you tomorrow I'll be there. Can you please meet for lunch tomorrow? And you're like, all right, it happens, Pete. No problem. You know, I'll talk to my boss. I'll work it out. I'll see you tomorrow. Tuesday, right? 12 o'clock. No Pete. 12:15, 12:30, 12:40. No Pete. 12:50, same message comes right back to you. You're getting a little cranky, aren't you? He messaged you, said, come on, man, I'm so sorry. Tomorrow, I'll take you to your favorite lobster place. I'll pay for the whole thing. It happened again. My boss is such a beep, 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 and et cetera, et cetera. And you're like, all right, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Wednesday, 12 o'clock, 12:15, 12:30, no Pete. 12:40, no Pete. 12:50, same text. Says, please let me see. Can you hang out? See me tomorrow, man. I promise. At what point are you like, listen, Pete, shove it. I'm not doing this anymore. Right? I know as I'm saying this, you're thinking to yourself like, man, this Pete guy sucks. Well, guess what? How many times have you Peted yourself? Every single time you do not finish what you said you would, when you don't do what you committed to yourself, every single time you are letting yourself down. And the next time you say, your subconscious says, whatever, like he's really going to do it. You got to stop. No more tomorrow. That's what we mean when we say hustle, right? Gary V, I think that's what you mean, right? It's not like just go from morning till night until you're dead. It's, hey, put in those extra hours, commit to yourself, and finish those tasks. You got to do it. So you got to avoid the tomorrow. All right, number eight, fear of failure. What are you scared of? I always really dissect failure. I'm like, it's such a stupid fear. I get it. Trust me, I have it too, right? I've dealt with it too, but I want to challenge your fear of failure. You know what the fear of failure does? It stops you from moving. This is so weird. I always think of the story of the deer in headlights. You know, it's always like, if that deer just kept moving at the original pace at which it ended up in that situation, it would have just walked off the street. And there would be no accident. But the deer gets scared and freezes. Hence, it's actually really weird. Fear is actually, you are actually creating, it's what is it? False evidence appearing real? But if you keep in it, it becomes real. Fear actually creates the thing that you're afraid of. So what are you afraid of? Do you know how many people in this world have failed and they're still alive, they're still breathing, they're still eating, they're still living somewhere, right? I want you to really think. Now, listen, if there's something you're about to do where the result of the failure could be so drastic, could be so huge that you will end up homeless, that you will end up dead, that you will end up in a really bad way, don't do it. Do it. Come on. The calculated risk on that is not in your favor. So a smart entrepreneur won't even do that. So when I'm talking about fear of failure, come on, let's not talk about the extreme scenarios. I'm talking about scenarios that are like, hey, should I start this business or should I not? Hey, what could happen if you start the business? Oh my God, I might lose my $5,000 investment. Okay. Are you still going to be able to pay your bills? Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I'll be at $5,000 in debt. Okay. Could you pay that off in a year or two? Yeah, I could probably pay that off in 7-8 months. I'll take an extra part-time job. Come on, man. If that's the case, stop being afraid. Stop letting that fear hold you back. So you gotta avoid fear of failure. Number 9, my favorite of all of them, my favorite. Right here. The free trap. Listen, entrepreneur. Stop. Stop wanting things for free. Don't reach out to people that have slaved away making courses for you and teaching you and ask for things for free. Don't do it. You didn't walk into the electronics store and ask for your iPhone for free. You didn't walk into the clothing store and ask for your clothes for free. You didn't do that. So don't, people are, I want to build a business, Anik. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do it for free. How do I get free traffic? How do I build my website for free? How do I make money for free? It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna work. I'm just telling you right now. It takes an upteenth level of discipline. Free doesn't come with commitment. Free doesn't come with value. You ever heard the saying, you get what you pay for? I cannot tell you there's not a more truthful statement in the world. It exists in every part of the life. Not even as an entrepreneur, it just exists in your life. You get what you pay for. Stop looking for free. You want something? Find a way to go pay for it and own it and deserve it. All right? Last but not least, justification, number 10. Stop justifying the things that happen around you. We have a joke, my friend and I, we'll say hashtag justify. It's like when for example, I was trying to buy a car. It's $125,000. There's really no reason for me to buy a $125,000 car. Just because I can afford it doesn't mean I should buy it. So I come up with, get X amount back on taxes. My happiness raises by 15%. It'll create extra production. Hashtag justify. Now, I'm giving you a lighthearted example. It's a fun example. I still bought the car, by the way. But, we do things in our lives, bad things happen, and say, oh, that's okay. That's okay. That happened or this happened. No, listen, I'm not asking you to blame yourself. We got to avoid blame too. But come on, take ownership. Don't justify it away. Don't be okay with it. Be disgusted by it. Stand up and know that you're better than that. And ask yourself, how do I change that? How do I not do that again the next day? Hey, rich people, they don't make the same mistake twice. They don't justify their mistakes. They own their mistakes. So number 10 is don't justify it. Avoid justifying it. Those are the 10 things you got to avoid if you want to be rich. I'm telling you right now, you find any rich person, prove me wrong. Come on, YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment below. Go ahead. If you're listening to this on iTunes or on a podcast, get over to YouTube and leave me a comment. You want to argue with me? Let's do it. All right, click subscribe on YouTube. Click the little bell on YouTube, on iTunes. Go to anikpodcast.com. Click subscribe. Leave us a review. It's been awesome. As you could tell, I was a little bit passionate today because I wanted to really talk about these things that came from the heart, about things that I really want you to learn and things I want you to avoid if you're going out there on your journey. Remember, head over to Lurn.com, Lurn.com. Get your free membership into the Lurn Nation platform. Log in. Finish a course, up-level your skills. You want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you got to always be improving. You got to be always learning. That's why we built Lurn, the transformational home for entrepreneurs. For you, it's a free lifetime membership. Go to Lurn.com. Go to anikpodcast.com for today's show notes and for all the past episodes. This is Anik Singal reminding you when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back. I'll see you on the next episode of The Fighting Entrepreneur.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.